Good morning, friends. Welcome to our weekly read and discuss session. Today we are reading the book The Untethered Soul, The Journey Beyond Yourself by Michael A. Singer. We are on chapter 7, Transcendenting the Tendency to Close. The foundation of spiritual growth and personal awakening are very much strengthened by the findings of Western science. Science has shown us how an underlying energy field forms into atoms, which then bind together into molecules and then ultimately manifests into the entire physical universe. The same is true inside of us. All that goes on inside also has a foundation in an underlying energy field. It is the movements in the field that create our mental and emotional pattern as well as our inner drives, urges, and instinctual reactions. Regardless of what you call this inner force field, chi, shakti, or spirit, it is underlying energy that flows in particular patterns through your inner being. When looking at these patterns within yourself as well as other living species, it is not difficult to see that the most primal energy flow is the survival instinct. During evo- eons of evolution, from the simplest of living forms to the most complex, there has always been the day-to-day struggle to protect oneself. In our highly evolved cooperative social structure, this surviving instinct has gone through evolutionary changes. Many of us no longer lack food, water, clothing, or shelter, nor do we regularly face life-threatening physical danger. As a result, the protective energies have adapted towards defending the individual psychological rather than physiological. We now experience the daily need to defend our self-concept rather than our bodies. Our major struggle ends up being with our own inner fears, insecurities, and destructive behavior patterns, not with the outside force. Nonetheless, the same impulses that makes a deer run away urges you to run away. Um, uh, Suppose somebody raises their voice at you or talks about an uncomfortable subject. There are not physically threatening circumstances, yet your heart starts pumping a little faster. That's exactly what happens to deer whenever they hear a sudden sound. Their hearts start pumping faster, they either freeze or run away. In your case, however, it's not usually the kind of fear that causes you physically run away. It's just a deep personal fear demanding protection. Since it's not socially acceptable to run into woods and hide like deer, you hide inside. You withdraw, you close, pull back behind your protective shield. What you actually go doing is closing down your energy centers. Um, to, um, you know exactly how to close down the centers to avoid being too receptive and sensitive to different energies coming and causing fear. When you close down and protect yourself, you are pulling a shield around the part of you that is weak. The part that feels its need protection even though no physical attack is taking place. You are protecting your ego, your self concept. Although a situation may present no longer danger, it may cause you to experience disturbance, fear, insecurity, and other emotional problems. So you feel to need to protect yourself. The problem is that the part of that gets disturbed is way out of balance. It's so sensitive that the slightest little thing causes its overreact. You are living on a planet spinning around the middle of the outer space, and you either worrying about your blemishes, the scratch on your new car, or the fact that you burped in public. It's not healthy. If your physical body were that sensitive, you would say you were sick. But as society considers physiological sensitivity is normal because most of us don't have to worry about food, clothing, or shelter. You have the luxury of worrying about a spot on your pant or laughing too loud or saying something wrong. Because we have developed this hypersensitive psyche, we constantly use our energies to close around it and protect ourselves. But this process only hides the problem. It doesn't fix them. You are locking your illness inside yourself and it will only get worse. I'll stop here. Now, do you want to go next, Julie?
Okay. You, sorry, I have to. You will get to the point where you will get to the point in your growth where you understand that if you protect yourself, you will never be free. It's that simple. Because you're scared, you have locked yourself within your house and pulled down all the shades. Now it's dark and you want to feel the sunlight, but you cannot. It's impossible. If you close and protect yourself, you're locking the scared, insecure person within your heart, and you'll never feel and it's important. If you close and protect yourself, you're locking the scared, insecure person within your heart, and you'll never feel free that way. Ultimately, if you protect yourself perfectly, you will never grow. All your habits and idiosyncrasies will stay the same. Life life becomes stagnant when people protect their store issues. People say things like, we don't talk about that subject around your father. There are all these rules about things that are not supposed to happen outside because they could cause disturbance inside. Living like this allows for very little spontaneous joy, enthusiasm, and excitement for life. Most people just go from day to day protecting themselves and making sure nothing goes wrong. At the end of the day, when someone asks, "How was your day?" a normal response is, "Not too bad," or "I'll survive." What is that telling you about their view of life? They see life as a threat. A good day means you made it through without getting hurt. The longer you live like this, the more close you become. If you really want to grow, you have to do the opposite. Real spiritual growth happens when there is only one of you inside. There's not a part that's scared and another part that's protecting the part that's scared. All parts are unified. Because there is no part of you that you're not willing to see, the mind is no longer divided into the conscious and subconscious. Everything you see inside is just something you see inside. It's not you, it's what you see. There is simply the pure energy pouring inside of you that creates a ripples of thoughts and emotions. And there is the consciousness that's aware of it. There is simply you watching the dance of the psyche. In order to reach this state of awareness, you must let your entire psyche surface. Every little separated piece of it must be permitted to pass through. Right now, many fragment parts of your psyche are held within you. If you want to be free, it all has to be equally exposed to your awareness and released. But it will never get exposed if you're closing yourself. After all, the purpose of closing was to make sure that the sensitive parts of your psyche don't get exposed. So catch on to that no matter how much pain the exposure creates, you're willing to pay the price for freedom. When you are no longer willing to identify the parts of you that is separating itself into a million pieces, you are ready for real growth. Begin by seeing the tendency to protect and defend yourself. There is a very deep innate tendency to close, especially around your soft spots. But eventually you will notice that closing creates tremendous work. Once you close, you have to make sure that what you protect doesn't get disturbed. You then carry this task for the rest of your life. The alternative is to become conscious enough to simply watch the part of your being that is constantly trying to protect itself. You can then give yourself the ultimate gift by deciding not to do that anymore. You decide, instead of getting rid of that part, Okay, I'll stop here.
You start by watching life and noticing the constant flow of people and situations that hit your stuff every day. How often do you find yourself trying to protect and defend that weak part of you? You feel like the world wants to get right at it. Every place you go, there's someone or something trying to disturb you, trying to get your goat. Why not let them have it? If you don't really want it, then don't protect it. The reward for not protecting your psyche is liberation. You are free to walk through this world without a problem on your mind. You are just having fun experiencing whatever happens next. Because you got rid of that scared part of you, you don't ever have to worry about getting hurt or disturbed. You no longer have to listen to, what will they think of me? Or, oh God, I wish I hadn't said that. It sounded so stupid. You just go about your business and put your whole being into whatever's happening instead of putting your whole being into your personal sensitivity. Once you've made the commitment to free yourself of that scared person inside, you will notice that there is a clear decision point at which your growth takes place. Spiritual growth is about the point at which you start to feel your energy change. For instance, somebody says something and you start to feel the energy get a little strange inside. You will actually start to feel a tightening. That is your cue that it's time to grow. It's not time to defend yourself because you don't want that the part of you that you would be defending. If you don't want it, let it go. You will eventually get conscious enough so that the minute you see the energy start getting strange, you stop. You stop getting involved in the energy. If it normally causes you to start talking, you stop talking. You just stop mid-sentence because you know where it will go if you continue. The moment you see the energy getting imbalanced inside, the moment you see the heart starting to tense and get defensive, you just stop. What exactly does it mean to stop? It's something you do inside. It's called letting go. When you let go, you are falling behind the energy that is trying to pull you into it. Your energies inside have power. They are very strong and they draw your awareness into them. If a hammer falls on your toe, all your awareness will focus there. If there's a sudden loud sound, again, all of your awareness will focus there. Consciousness has a tendency to focus on disturbance, and disturbed energies inside are no exception. These disturbed energies will draw your consciousness to them, but you do excuse me. But you do not have to let this happen. You really do have the ability to disengage and fall back behind them. When the energies inside start to move, you do not have to go there. For instance, when your thoughts start, you do not have to go with them. Let's say you're outside taking a walk and a car drives by. Your thoughts say, boy, I wish I had that car. You could just keep on walking, but instead you start getting upset. You want a car like that, but your salary isn't high enough. So you begin to thinking about how you can get a raise or a different job. You didn't have to do all that. It could have just been, here comes the car and there it goes. And here comes the thought and there it goes. They're both gone together because you didn't go with them. That is what's called being centered. If you aren't centered, your consciousness is just following whatever catches its attention. You see the car drive by and you're off doing something about it. Another day you see a boat and then it is all about the boat and you forget about the car. There are people like that. They don't hold jobs very well and relationships don't tend to work out for them. They're just all over the place. Their energy is very scattered. You have the ability to not go with any of these thoughts. You can just sit in the seat of consciousness and let go. A thought or excuse me, a thought or emotion emerges, you notice it, and it passes by because you allow it to. This technique of freeing yourself is done with the understanding that thoughts and emotions are just objects of consciousness. When you see your heart start getting anxious, you are obviously aware of this experience. But who is aware? It is the consciousness, the indwelling being, soul, the self. It is the seer, the one who sees. The changes you experience in your inner energy flow are simply objects of this consciousness. If you want to be free, then every time you feel any change in the energy flow, relax behind it. Don't fight with it, don't try to change it, and don't judge it. Don't say, oh, I can't believe I'm still feeling this. I promised myself I wouldn't think about that car anymore. Don't do that. You'll just end up going with the guilt thoughts instead of the car thoughts. You have to let them all go. It's not just letting go of thoughts and emotions. It's actually about letting go of the pull that the energy itself has on your consciousness. The disturbed energy is trying to draw your attention into it. If you use your inner willpower to not go with it and just remain seated within, you will notice that the distinction between the consciousness and the object of consciousness is like night and day. They are totally different things. The object comes and goes, and the consciousness watches it come and go. Then the next object comes and goes while the consciousness watches it. Both objects came and went, but the consciousness didn't go anywhere. It stays constant and simply watches all of it. The consciousness experiences the creation of thoughts and emotions, and it has the clarity to see where they came from. sees all of this without thinking about it, sees what's going on inside as easily as it sees what's going on outside. Simply watches. Self is watching the inside energies change in accordance to both inside and outside forces. All the energies that it watches will just come and go unless you lose your center of consciousness and go with them. Let's take a slow motion look at what happens if you go with these energies. First, you start to have a thought of feeling. This feeling could be as subtle as your energy flow starting to tighten and become defensive, or it could be something much stronger. These energies capture your consciousness and all the power of awareness gets focused on them. This power actually feeds them. Consciousness is a tremendously powerful force. When you concentrate on these thoughts and emotions, they become charged with energy and power. This is why thoughts and emotions get stronger the more attention you give them. Let's say you feel a little jealousy, or a little fear. If you focus on it, it grows in importance and demands more of your attention. Then, because your attention feeds it, it becomes infused with even more energy and draws more attention. That's how the cycle goes. Eventually, what started as a passing thought or emotion can become the center of your entire life. If you don't let go, it can get completely out of control. A wise person remains centered enough to let go every time the energy shifts into a defensive mode. The moment the energy moves and you feel your consciousness start to get drawn into it, you relax and release. Letting go means falling behind the energy instead of going into it. It just takes a moment of conscious effort to decide that you're not going there. You just let go. It's simply a matter of taking the risk that you are better off letting go than going with the energy. When you're free from the hold the energy has on you, you will be free to experience the joy and expansiveness that exists within you. So you decide to use life to free yourself. You become willing to pay any price for the freedom of your soul. You will realize that the only price you have to pay is letting go of yourself. Only you can take any freedom away from yourself or give it to yourself. Nobody else can. It doesn't matter what others do unless you decide that it matters to you. Begin with small things. We tend to let ourselves get bothered by the little meaningless things that happen every day. For example, somebody beeps at you at the stoplight. As these little things happen, you will feel your energy change. The moment you feel it change, relax your shoulders and relax the area around your heart. The moment the energy moves, you simply relax and release. Play with letting go and falling behind the sense of being bothered. Let's say someone at work took your pencil and you notice that every time you go to use another one, your energy shifts, even the slightest amount. Are you willing to release the old pencil in order to liberate yourself? This is how you make freedom a game. Instead of getting into being bothered, you get into being free. When you reach for a pencil and you see yourself getting a little uptight, let go. Your mind might start saying, it was a pencil today, and if I let go, they'll start to fall over me. It'll be my desk tomorrow, or my house, or maybe my husband. That's how the mind talks. It's very melodramatic. But you decide that for the cost of a pencil, you'll go for the ride. Tell your mind when it's the car, we'll have a talk. Right now, it only costs a pencil to be free. Just decide that no matter what the mind says, you aren't getting involved. You don't fight the mind. In fact, you don't even try to change it. You just make a game out of relaxing in the face of its melodrama. You simply learn how to release the tendency for getting drawn into the energy. The root is where the consciousness is aware of the pull of these energies. You will see that the energy does have the power to draw you in. Even once you decide you're not going to let this happen, it still has a tremendous power over you. It happens at work and it happens at home. It happens with your children and with your husband or wife. It happens with everything and everybody all the time. Your opportunities to grow are endless. It's always there in front of you. Just commit to not letting the energy draw you in. When you feel the pull, like somebody pulling on your heart, you just let go. You fall behind it. You simply relax and release. And no matter how many times you're pulled, that's how many times you relax and release. Because the tendency to get drawn in is constant, the willingness to let go and fall behind has to be constant. Your center of consciousness is always stronger than the energy that is pulling on it. You just have to be willing to exercise your will. But it's not a fight or a struggle. It's not that you are trying to stop the energies from coming up inside. There's nothing wrong with feeling the energies of fear, jealousy, or attraction. It's not your fault that such energies exist. All the attractions, repulsions, thoughts, and feelings don't make any difference. They don't make you pure or impure. They are not you. You are the one who's watching, and that one is pure consciousness. Don't think you'd be free if you just didn't have these kinds of feelings. It's not true. If you can be free even though you're having these kinds of feelings, then you're really free, because there will always be something. If you can learn to remain centered with the smaller things, you will see that you can also remain centered with bigger things. Over time, you will find that you can even remain centered with the really big things. Types of events that would have destroyed you in the past can come and go. leaving you perfectly centered and peaceful. You can be fine deep inside, even in the face of a deep sense of loss. There's nothing wrong with being peaceful and centered as long as you are releasing the energy, not suppressing it. Ultimately, even if terrible things happen, you should be able to live without emotional scars and impressions. If you don't hold these issues inside, you can go about your life without getting psychologically damaged. No matter what events take place in life, it is always better to let go rather than to close. There's a deep place deep inside of you where the consciousness touches the energy and the energy touches the consciousness. That's where your work is. From that place, you let go. Once you let go every minute of every day, year after year, that's where you'll live. Nothing will be able to take your seat of consciousness from you. You'll learn to stay there. After you've put years and years into this process and learn to let go, no matter how deep the pain, you will achieve a great state. You will break the ultimate habit, the constant draw of the lower self. You will then be free to explore the nature and source of your true being, your consciousness. All right, that's it for the chapter.
Um, for me, so yeah, am I going or uh, I can echo my voice? I was just wondering if it's. Julia, are you able to hear clearly?
I can hear you clearly now. For a
Oh,
while there was like
some echo.
there
Okay.
was some yeah, I couldn't hear you for a few minutes.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
Can you
So
hear okay, Wendy? I
Yeah, I'm
can
fine.
hear.
I'm fine.
okay,
Okay.
awesome. Yeah, so I like this chapter. It's talk about typical things when some object happens and something which I mean day to day life also. The car example is very appropriate, at least for me, where I oh I wish I had that car kind of scenario comes into my mind often. But I don't get carried away. I try to, I mean I don't observe, but I try to say okay, uh, you know what car I have is doing the purpose and it's doing great. I don't have to maintain another bunch of stuff I come up with. Uh, but he's telling is one thing. What he's telling is like you don't need to divert your mind. Like if you don't want that thing or if you can't have that thing, don't divert your mind, but just observe and let it go, kind of thing. Just saying that, okay, this feeling came and it went away. Uh, but sometimes I think it's like the consciousness watching is really hard. Like you will, I mean, the mind basically, yeah, tries to constantly think about some things. Like if you something somebody talks bad about you or you had some heated conversation and all, so it will keep on coming and coming. It's uh, I mean, yeah, it's not very easy to just say, okay, I'll observe this and I'll get away with it. Sometimes you feel there is some sort of tension, and then let's say, then sometimes out of that you start to ignore the person. When that person comes, you have those all the feelings that come, like your recent fight or recent what that person said, so something like that. So I have noticed this very often, but uh, you know I am not able to just observe it and then let go, kind of thing. I think it's a pretty hard thing to do, unless you know, really you understand that consciousness and other things, like. But yeah, um, I think that's it for me. Do you want to go next, Wendy?
Well, for me, I just try to focus on positive stuff, like what do I want to do during the day, and don't try not to think too much about negative stuff. Like, like right now, I just got my application to renew my Medicaid, and I'm a little worried about that, how that's going to work out. But just relax and do what it says, and it's also because I got so little time to before it has to be in. I only have until this coming Friday to get it in, so I'm kind of hoping I can get it. Doesn't have to go far, but it's just a matter of getting everything together that they're looking for, and making sure it gets there in time. Mm. And since I've been on my own, I'm so much better about not letting things. I really used to when I was living with my parents and my brother. My father and my brother would get under my skin, and I would let it get to me. And just being away from them and helped me to, clear my head and mature. So I really needed to be on my own. But that's it.
I think sometimes ignoring the person helps.
What's that?
Sometimes I think ignoring the person helps. I'm ignoring my own voice. Like, I think something is wrong.
So you think, you know what? There's an echo all of a sudden. I don't know why.
Yeah, it goes away after some time.
Now it's off. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was saying that, yeah, sometimes ignoring the person helps.
Oh,
I
ignore.
mean, that's what I have noticed with myself. Like, just ignore that person and then you get okay. And then probably that feeling goes away after some time. And then you come back.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought this was really interesting. And I like what both of you said. Like, it is hard. It is hard to let go. I think, there's a lot of forces. I mean, he did say that the forces of consciousness has power. And then I'm hoping that as he goes on, he talks about, some of the things like culture, like the things we inherit, emotional memories, and they are hard to let go. For me, meditation is a place that helps me. Maybe it gets me stuck too, but to have a little bit of meditation is kind of like having a little breathing room, like whatever is residue from the day's experience, it has a chance to revisit and re-experience, and then we can let it go. I kind of believe that even if we have something like even trauma or things that bug us, at that moment, maybe we don't have time to say, hold a minute, I need to go in and do my psyche work. I need you to give me 5 minutes so I can breathe and let it go, But I think what we can do is we can say to ourselves, okay, the fire is burning on my project. I have to talk to my project manager about this. There's certain emotional feelings I need to work with. I'll just put that on the shelf. And then when the meditation time comes, I can open up the package and do the work. So I think meditation is a tool. I'm hoping that he'll talk about that. And the other thing is, I think sometimes talking to a good friend or even talking here, it helps us release some of the holdings, and it softens us. It gives us a little bit of opening. And I think what Brene Brown talks about vulnerability, I think that's a pivotal point, is that if we don't address the feelings of fragility or the need to protect ourselves, it comes into the unconsciousness. And that's what he's talking about, that we have to spend the rest of time protecting that. It's like there's poison inside and we have a scab, but we don't want the poison to overcome our whole body. But I think vulnerability is the choice at that moment to look at our fragility, experience that, and then reframe that, understanding that what he says, he talks about it in a different way than I will. What he would say is, like that's not part of me. I can just let it go. And I think being human beings, it's very hard for us to say I'm the eternal.
Mhm.
This is impermanent and temporal. I can let it go. However, for me personally, I can say that there's a part of me that's bothering me, but I'm also the awareness that's seeing that, and then I'm able to kind of watch that and let it go somehow. And there's tools of like um, metta, like loving
Mhm.
kindness, just being loving to that part or to the person who's affecting us, or there could be compassion. Um, just wishing my suffering to be eased, or the other person is suffering, even though he doesn't know it. Because if he's greedy and grabby, he's suffering. Or even going on the knowledge and wisdom path, saying, oh, this is something I don't want to be. I won't want to be like that person.
Mhm.
That's say, well, it is part of the universal forces, but I don't have to ride that wagon, which
Mhm.
is what he's talking about. So I think there are options and choices, and I think meditation and working with other people, it kind of helps us soften our hearts, because whenever we connect with other people, is letting go and softening.
Mhm.
So I think he's setting up the paradigm that the soul is always there, is part of universal consciousness,
Mhm.
and that this incident is part of the universal energy, but it comes and goes. And so that because it is by itself impermanent, we don't have to hold on to it. I think that's what he's saying. So, yeah, thank you. Yeah. So, like when Wendy says, when she moves away, her father and brother doesn't bother her any as much, or that being able to focus on the positive, so not to let the irritations overwhelm her, but just go ahead. I think those are practical tools for moving into
Mhm.
this, what he calls the emancipated realm.
Mhm. Cool.
Yeah.
Discussion. So commitments for next week. For me, yeah. So uh, I'm going to try again for the gym. Uh, I'm hoping to make uh, 3 times a week. That's number one. Second is mostly I'll spend some time. So I'm trying to prepare my kids for gifted. So spending some time with him for some homework and related stuff. So some teaching time, and then apart from that, as usual, based on the weather, we have cricket every Saturday. So we're going to continue that. And
That's
that's it.
great.
Yeah. Hopefully the weather is really nice. I mean, in the sense it's not raining at all. At least on Saturday so far. So we are able to play cricket. Uh, and
Wow.
then definitely I have a list of pictures to send you, Julie and Wendy, about the cricket.
Great. Oh, love it. Okay.
You want to go next, Julie?
Sure. I'm going to continue to struggle with my book. I'm taking it that even if I don't get the book done, if I don't give up, that's a virtue. Because if I give up, then I have to come back anyway. So I'm
Yes.
still working on that darn book. I'm going to exercise more. I'm going to try to do the stretches more. I'm going to try to aim for daily. Of course, I'm going to appreciate my husband. And appreciation to me is a little bit different than gratitude.
Mhm.
Uh, appreciation, I focus on my husband. Gratitude is I focus on how I feel having my
Mm.
husbands in my life. And then this Tuesday, I'm facilitating a meditation on joy, appreciation based on joy, or the call is appreciative joy. So we'll see what comes up. I'm going to have to write it up this weekend. So that's it.
Me, back to yoga and other coloring. We're also having a coffee hour this week, if I'm not mistaken. And other than that, get my Medicaid application together, get that off. My sister's going to be away, so she won't be around. Other than that, just my exercise and reading, and that's my yoga, my reading, my exercise. Get back to the coloring. Coffee hour this week. Get my Medicaid application off. I think that's it.
It's a full week.
Yeah. Because this week was pretty much nothing except for Thanksgiving.
Right. Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Atu.
Thank you.
I think we don't Atu, we're not getting video. Is there audio? Can you hear us?
I can see him, but I can't.
Yeah. No, it's with audio. Video's gone.
Oh.
Okay. Well, that's it. Atu, are you still there?
I don't think so.
Okay. So we will see you next week.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.